Today's service is the third in a series that we began 2 weeks ago. In this series, we are focusing our attention on populations in our society that are marginalized. They are marginalized because they have been pushed to the edges, to the margins, and they have no voice. They are out of the mainstream. They have little power, status, or significance. I'm going to share the very same Bible passage that we have used each week, just so that we all have the same starting place today. In the Bible, in Matthew chapter 25, there is a commonly cited parable, which has been called the unto the least of these Bible passage. Here is the passage. A king says to his servants, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me. The servants replied, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to you? And then the king will say, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me. Now, each week we have listed many of the overlooked and the ignored communities of people in Indiana. People who have been marginalized, the sick, the homeless, the poor, the people of color, the ostracized, the lonely, the imprisoned, the disabled, the left out, the different. And then we have spent time focusing each week on a select population. 2 weeks ago we focused on children. Last week we focused on those who are in prison. And today we're going to focus our attention on people who are living in poverty. Later on in the service, Margie Worrell will come up and share some extensive information about this marginalized group of people, as well as helping us after the service, if you're willing and wanting to stay for a brief 30 minutes to go through a poverty simulation. Margie will help us during the service and after to unravel the complex cycle of poverty that exists right here in our state, in our county. So today, let's take a moment and let's think about the lack of power and the isolation that someone who lives in poverty experiences. Let us consider those who are homeless, hungry, thirsty, shivering, and often sick because they do not have enough money.
So I would like to talk today about poverty in Hamilton County to start. I think there are lots of misconceptions about Hamilton County. Hamilton County is the wealthiest county in the state of Indiana. And I think that along with that, people assume that everyone in Hamilton County is doing fine. Everyone in Hamilton County is able to make ends meet, but this simply is not true. When we look at struggling families in Hamilton County, you can see that 5% of our Hamilton County population is living at the poverty line or below. But a much larger percentage, 12%, is what we call ALICE families. Now, ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. Asset Limited. This means that these are families that don't have a lot of property. They probably don't own a home. They don't own cars. So they are struggling just to be able to have the needs that they have be met. Income constrained. For various reasons, they're only going to be able to climb so high on the income ladder. They may be on a fixed income, or perhaps it's a lack of training, but they're only going to be able to come to a certain wage level. But the most important part of this is they are employed. So they are working, many of them working full-time, some of them working 2 and 3 jobs to try to be able to make ends meet for their family. A lot of times in the popular press, you'll hear this called working poor. How many of you have heard that term before, the working poor? That's what we're talking about here. And 12% of our Hamilton County population fits into that category. They still can't make ends meet, even though they're working full-time. Let's look at the historical data. I know this chart is a little hard for you to read, but you can see that over time, we've kind of had a bell curve of people that are struggling. The blue bars represent people in poverty and people in ALICE. The blue, dark blue, is people living in poverty. The light blue is people who are ALICE. And going along the bottom are the years 2007, 2010, 2012, 2014. And this is when we at United Way have collected data. And you can see that we have had a dip since 2012 to 2014. I will tell you that when we get our 2016 data, the prediction is it's going to go back up. However, we are happy to see that dip until we break it down into the actual numbers. And when I do break that down, it comes out to 18,843 families in Hamilton County that still aren't able to make ends meet. So while our data is representing that the problem has gotten better, it still is a lot of people who cannot be able to meet their basic needs on a consistent basis. So why is this? Why is it so hard for families to be able to make ends meet? Right here in Hamilton County, the wealthiest county in the state of Indiana. Well, the cost of living in Hamilton County is much higher than anywhere else in the state. For a family of four, it's going to take $58,932 a year for them to just be able to meet their basic needs here in Hamilton County. When you compare that to Randolph County is actually the poorest county in the state of Indiana. They, for that same family of four, would be able to live there for $43,548. So why would anyone choose to live in Hamilton County? I ask you, why would you choose to live in Hamilton County? Education. Let's remember back to that very first video of the young woman who is trying to live on $7.50 an hour with her small son. She said, I don't want him to struggle. Isn't that what every parent wants? They don't want their child to struggle. They don't want their child to repeat that cycle of poverty, and we see that so frequently where families continue that cycle of poverty, right? Education is the way out of poverty. And so many families want that for their children. And they want to live where the best school systems are. And that happens to be right here in Hamilton County. We're fortunate to have that, right? Is there another reason that people might live in Hamilton County? What about safety? Right? I think that most of us feel very safe in Hamilton County. Again, that's what we want for our families. We want safety. We want education. We want a high quality of life. And so people choose to live in Hamilton County, even though it's quite expensive and hard for them to make ends meet. It's a sacrifice. Let's go through and compare the cost of living between Hamilton County and Randolph County. And if you look at the single wage earner, go ahead and click forward for me if you don't mind, about 3 times. Thank you. It is the cost of living difference for an hourly wage between Hamilton County and Randolph County. For a single adult, you just need to be able to earn 82 cents an hour more to be able to kind of equate that same standard of living. But for a family of 4, you need to bring in $7.70 more per hour in order to have the same standard of living between Randolph County and Hamilton County. So you can see that moving to Hamilton County for families, they are going to have to be able to bring in a substantial amount of money in order to make ends meet. But once again, we see them doing it because they value education, they value the life that their children are going to have, and that's why they choose to come here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to flip 2 more for me. Thank you. This is also a chart that's going to be really hard to read, and I apologize for that. Another myth that I kind of want to bust today about Hamilton County is that we don't have substantial poverty here, that it's just minimal poverty. That's simply not true. The yellow highlighted areas show areas that are doing very well here in Hamilton County. You can see the city of Carmel, you can see Fishers, Fall Creek Township. These are areas where the poverty level percentage and the Alice level percentage, that's those first two columns, are very, very low. Now look at the red ones. Those areas are Arcadia, Atlanta, Adams Township, and Sheridan. And if you look at their percentage of poverty and their percentage of Alice families, it is almost 50% of their population is struggling to make ends meet on a consistent basis. These numbers are actually quite similar and in some cases surpass the numbers from Marion County. And a lot of people think Marion County is struggling so much more. We have pockets in Hamilton County of places where people are struggling just as heavily. So this tells me that if I go to Atlanta, Indiana, or Sheridan, or Arcadia, and I walk down that street, and I look at those homes, I can point to one and say, they're probably making ends meet, and point to the next one and say, they're probably not. And point to the next one and say, they are, they're not, because it's 1 and 2. So there are areas that have great need right here in Hamilton County. And I feel like it is our responsibility to be able to help those areas in particular that have the greatest need. So you may be asking yourself, what can we do? How can we help? Well, part of it is learning, and I'm so grateful that you're here today to learn a little bit more about this. I welcome you to stay for the poverty simulation. We're going to talk a little bit more about Central Indiana, but I did want to have a chance to talk to you directly about Hamilton County during this time. There are things that you can do. Tell people about 211. How many of you have heard of 211? There's a few of you, good, okay. So 211 is a phone number anybody can call, and they can get assistance with anything that they need. It could be housing, it could be transportation, it could be food, it could be domestic violence or substance abuse. All of these things come under the umbrella of what 211 can help with. And they will connect people to a local resource. So I encourage you to tell people about 211. A lot of people don't know about it. They don't really have a marketing department. So I always tell people I've just made you marketers for 211. So congratulations. You now have a new full-time job on top of your other job. So I also encourage you to think about if you want to visit the United Way website. I'm happy to give you the information about that. We do have a resource called Get Connected where you can find out about volunteer opportunities in our 6-county area. But I really want to challenge this congregation today because I feel like you are a group of people who can really make a difference. I want to challenge you, and if you don't mind flipping back one slide for me, thank you, to go to those areas in red. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about those areas. And how can we help those areas in particular? These are areas that are suffering from very large amounts of poverty and have very few resources. I will tell you that if those people call 211, they're going to be traveling, most likely, to get to any kind of assistance. So my challenge to you is to reach out to the Good Samaritan Network. It's based in Fishers. Find out how you can get involved. They are highly engaged in Hamilton County. They are highly educated on how to help people in these areas in particular, and see if there are ways that your congregation can help particularly those areas, because those are the areas of greatest need. And as we've seen today from all that has been shared, that need can bring about a feeling of hopelessness. But when people are given just a little bit of assistance, they can start to feel hope again. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here today, and thank you for what you do to help your community.